You know that time of year when your students suddenly forget how to student? The pencils are collecting on the floor while students are complaining that they can't find a pencil. Someone is reading a comic book and wearing headphones while you're getting class started and then gives you attitude when you ask him to put things away. Ask me how I know that one. Or your class looks both highly energetic and emotionally done at the same time. And now you're managing behavior more than you're actually teaching because, well, testing season is over. Mid-May, it's weird. Some schools are wrapping up, others still have weeks to go. If you're in my district, you still have an entire month, actually, a little over than a month. Testing season has now drained everybody, the routines are just off, and the energy can be a little chaotic. And what so many students need right now is not more worksheets, more compliance, and more reminders to focus, even if we think they might. Instead, they need engagement. Engagement that wakes their brains back up and even gets them focused. So today, I want to talk about creativity. Why creativity matters way more than we sometimes think. How the creative process actually helps students regulate and engage, and what micro engagement strategies are and how they can reinvigorate your lessons. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. You know, there was a season in my teaching career when I was exhausted, and I mean bone tired. I was repeating myself all day long, managing and correcting behaviors instead of teaching, and just trying to squeeze creativity into a curriculum that not only felt scripted and stiff, but some of it actually was scripted. And I kept thinking, is this just how teaching is nowadays? At that point, I had just about, 20 years in the classroom, and I knew that I did not want to become the teacher who just went into work and survived until June. So I had to make a decision, and I decided to stop waiting for things to just magically change. And I decided to put into practice what I had been teaching so many other teachers in workshops and courses and retreats for so many years, and figure out a way to bring some of that creativity and that joy that we would have in those workshops, bring that back to my teaching, because I knew that I was going to be the only one who would be able to do that for myself. And that is when I decided to build a reset. And that reset changed everything. Slowly, I started to figure out what were the most important parts that needed to be reset inside my classroom. And every time I started a new reset in my room, my kids were becoming calmer. I was feeling confident again, and teaching felt creative again. I was actually smiling while I was teaching more and more. And that's why I've now poured everything that I've learned and everything that I put together for myself into the classroom reset. Now, if you're wondering whether it's possible to feel excited, yes, I said excited about teaching again, I am telling you it is. I want you to come and check out the Classroom Reset at theinspiredclassroom.com/reset, RESET, and see if this is your moment to reset your classroom too. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but lately I've actually, wait for it, enjoyed cooking. I can't believe it, because for so many years, cooking was such a chore. I couldn't stand it. I didn't like deciding what we were going to have for dinner. I didn't like shopping for the food. I didn't like figuring out what I was going to do with the ingredients that I ended up getting. I just didn't like planning, making, or putting dinner on the table, any of it. But now things have changed because I'm looking at cooking differently. I'm looking at it as well, this is going to sound a little corny, but I'm looking at it as an act of love, for one thing. And I don't have little kids running around anymore, so I think that has kind of helped with that. But I'm also looking at it as a creative outlet. Sometimes I'll search for a new recipe and I'll give it a try and, put it on the table like I'm some gourmet chef and really have something to offer. Other times I'll search the refrigerator and the pantry for ingredients and I'll try and figure out what I can do with them and sometimes use the internet to help me come up with some ideas. But inside the cooking process, I'm developing my skills through the creative process. I'm getting inspired. I'm thinking, what do I have to work with? I'm imagining what could work tonight. What could I put together? What flavors could I try? I'm creating and experimenting a little bit. And as I'm going through, I'm kind of tasting and adjusting and rethinking things and maybe even trying a recipe that I did the week before and making it a little different. And then in the end, I'm serving it up and sharing the meal. It's the entire creative process. And that's what creativity is. It's not necessarily painting a masterpiece every time. It's problem solving, it's flexibility, it's trying something and adjusting and learning from it. Now, inside the reset framework, we focus on engagement as a key component to, resetting your classroom. We focus on engagement through the arts and creativity as a way to really keep students engaged and focused all year long. But there's no denying it. This is the perfect time of year to bring out some little extra creativity. And in my next episode, I'm actually going to share one of my favorite creative activities to try with your kids, no matter what age level they are. So please go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already to the podcast, because you're not going to want to miss that one. It's a simple activity, but man, it works for every class I've ever tried it with. And that is from younger kids all the way through middle school level, personally doing it with those age groups. But I want to talk about creativity for a moment because this can be what so many students are actually struggling with right now. Not because they aren't smart or not because, you're not trying new things, but because students are often spending more time consuming information than creatively doing something with it. And we as teachers, as creative as we are and as creative as we want our classrooms to be, we can sometimes get stuck in a rut of making sure we're getting through curriculum and omitting some of those more creative aspects of teaching. And it's really a shame because what families want and what employers want is some of those amazing skills that come from working creatively. We want our students to be able to think on their feet, to collaborate, to problem solve, to communicate with one another effectively. We want them to be able to adapt and have that growth mindset. We want them to be able to innovate, right? But students can't develop those skills by just following directions all day or doing worksheets or doing things straight from the book. And without getting off on a huge tangent, we need our kids to have these skills in a world where AI is playing a bigger and bigger role in things. But again, that's a topic for another day. And I think we're going to need to start going there a little bit. But for now, let's just stick with what I'm talking about here with creativity. Now, don't get me wrong. Structure in a classroom is a good thing. My goodness, students absolutely need predictability. They need support. And they need creative methods. They need these micro engagement strategies that I'll be talking about to become part of the routines and the structures that you have inside your classroom. And it's important that they do, because if every learning experience only has one right answer or one right path, students are going to stop trusting themselves as thinkers and learners. And not only is that detrimental to becoming a good thinker, but honestly, that can create frustration and shutdowns and disengagement and behavior issues too, because engagement and regulation are so deeply connected. This is why one of the parts of the reset framework is engage with creativity and the arts. Not because we're trying to make everything cute or crafty. Believe it or not, I'm not a very cute and crafty kind of person, but because creativity helps students to do things like regulate themselves, participate, connect with things, express themselves, and stay mentally engaged with what you're doing. Your classroom becomes a place of calm and connection when you bring in more creativity, and that changes behavior far more effectively than constantly reacting to problems that happen. Now, here's the thing. When I say engagement through creativity and the arts, I think many teachers immediately picture elaborate projects or glittery explosions or staying up late laminating things and prepping things and getting all the materials together. Now, while that can be fun at certain times of the school year, including now, if you're listening in real time, because the end of the school year can be a fun time to get out the glitter if that's your thing, or do some elaborate projects. But what I'm talking about is what I call micro engagement strategies, tiny moments that are woven into learning that wake up students' brains. So these are short creative experiences, quick moments of curiosity, opportunities for student voice to come out, tiny bursts of movement or imagination, reflection, play, or problem solving. And the important part is that they do not require a full classroom transformation. They don't require a complicated prep or a completely new curriculum to kind of shove into what you're already having to do. These are small things that help students to re-enter learning a little differently, because students can become depleted, right? And honestly, we can too. A lot of classrooms right now are operating in survival mode. Just get through the lesson. Just make it to dismissal. Just keep everyone regulated enough to get through. But students' brains are craving things like novelty and participation. They're craving ownership over their learning. They're craving movement and emotional connection and opportunities to think a little differently, to think a little bit more flexibly. And that's what creativity provides. And here's something really important I want you to consider, and that is creativity is not separate from behavior support. It actually helps prevent behavior issues, especially when this idea of a micro engagement strategy being part of your everyday routines. Because when students are actively engaged, they feel more successful. They feel more connected to you and to their classmates and to the classroom itself. They feel more emotionally safe inside your room. They feel more invested in what's happening. Whereas a disengaged student often becomes a distracted student, right? A disruptive student, or even a shutdown student. Not always because they're misbehaving. I mean, sometimes because they're misbehaving, but because their brain has checked out. And listen, this doesn't mean every lesson has to become a performance. My goodness, I am definitely not about that either. Sometimes teachers hear engagement and immediately feel exhausted. They feel like they have to gamify everything. And that is not what this is about. Micro engagement strategies are actually about making teaching feel better, more enjoyable. That's what this is. That's what this underlying thing is really all about, because what this can do can actually make your teaching more enjoyable. Because when students are actively participating in learning, you spend less energy dragging them through the lesson. And that is exactly why inside the Reset framework, we focus on engaging with creativity in the arts, not because we're trying to entertain students every second, but because creativity, when it becomes part of your culture and part of your routines, it helps create calm and connection and participation and emotional investment in learning. And those tiny moments, they build over time into something much bigger. A classroom culture where students expect to have opportunities to think and contribute and wonder and engage. And that's different from constantly trying to manage behavior after the fact. And honestly, sometimes the smallest little shifts in how we think about things and how we go about bringing things into our classroom create the biggest changes in the classroom energy. Not because they magically fix students, but because they help students experience learning a little differently. And when learning feels different, behavior often starts to look different too. Now, here's the important part. These strategies are going to help. They absolutely work. But quick engagement ideas alone don't fully solve the deeper issue, because lasting classroom calm doesn't come from having a giant bag of tricks. It comes from creating a classroom culture where creativity and connection and that emotional safety engagement are actually part of how students experience their learning every day. That is the reset. That's the full reset. You're not starting over. You're not plugging things in. Instead, you're resetting things and you're getting back to how you truly want to teach and how you truly want to enjoy yourself while you're teaching. Back to the teacher that you are already underneath all of that overwhelm. And if you want to learn more about how this bigger reset works, including those moments of micro engagement strategies, I invite you to download my free Reset Roadmap, where I take you through the entire Reset framework. It's a free PDF that you can download when you go to theinspiredclassroom.com/roadmap. That's theinspiredclassroom.com/ROADMAP roadmap. I would love to share that with you. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.